war and sickness are the biggest moneymakers.
The most profitable thing right now is a sick child.
We can get really heated about health and the things that are incentivized in our world that is not actually for our benefit.
Bad kind of capitalism.
1 in 36 children are autistic. Bacteria in some individuals' guts change their behavior.
There's a lot of stuff that we're eating that takes the brain off track.
They get the right sugar-salt ratio, that brain will be addicted to it, creating a generation that is anxious.
Only use ingredients. If that thing is already put together in a package, it's not designed for us to consume.
Stephen met RFK yesterday.
Super cool.
Gave him a capitalist pig shirt.
Yeah.
And tell him what he said.
Yeah, so I was over there. It was super fun. Very kind man.
Oh, isn't
You
he
know,
just
when
like
you're in
so you can feel...
Feel when someone's a good person, you know? And anyway, I walked up to him, and the whole reason I went is because I wanted to give him a capitalist pig shirt and ask him to protect capitalism. And I said, so Secret Service was all over there, and I had this big stack of shirts, and now Matt was there with me, and we haven't slept a lot in the last few days, or eaten much, or it's been a crazy last little bit, but it's been a fun journey. And couldn't do it without you. I said, hey, I represent a community called the Capitalist Pigs, which is a group who actively like capitalism, right? And we know it's not perfect, but it's way better than socialism, and it actually helps people be creative, right? And keep a connection with God and the divine and create it through. And I just briefly said, like, we believe our slogan is get rich and give back, right? It's the type of capitalism that is very innovative. I want to present this shirt to you and ask you if you will preserve capitalism in this nation. And he took the shirt. It's so nice. He goes, I will treasure this forever. It's so cool. We took this picture together. It's really cool.
It's such a sweet picture.
Yeah. He walked out of the room and it was like glowing, you know. It's like, that was it. I was supposed to meet Tucker Carlson, and Trump was also there, but they were busy.
Yeah.
Doing stuff.
Preparing.
No, that was really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we can all get really heated about health and the things that are incentivized in our world that is not actually for our benefit.
Bad kind of capitalism.
Yeah, I think it was an RFK Instagram post that was like, when you look at the fact that war and sickness are the biggest moneymakers, that says everything you need to know.
Actually, he got up and he said, the most profitable thing right now is a sick child. Yeah. And he said, when he was growing up, he was saying 1 in 10,000 children have autism, and now it's 1 in 34. And in California, it's 1 in 24.
I got something for you.
Bring it on.
So it's 1 in 36 children are autistic.
Part of that is that we diagnose it more clearer, but that's still way too much. So we can say anything here. We now know that there's a lot to do with the gut-brain axis. And there are...
What do you say? The gut-brain...
Gut-brain axis.
Okay.
There are bacteria in some individuals' guts that change their behavior. As a matter of fact, it's so impactful that they've done what are called mood transplants. Taking the gut from a mouse that's very anxious, putting it into one that is not, it becomes anxious, and doing the reverse. So he was also trained obesity, a lot of different things. But whenever you brought up about autism specifically, Clostridium is something that pretty much most all autistic children have that in their gut. It is a pathogenic gram-negative bacteria, so it produces what is called LPS, lipopolysaccharides. Lipopolysaccharides are toxic to the brain. It's associated with Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's, a lot of other things, but also autism. There is I don't want to get y'all knocked down on the Alfred. There is a pharmaceutical company.
We say exactly what we need here.
Axial Pharmaceutics has a medication that they are starting to they're starting to develop, and it gets rid of the symptoms from LPS. You can treat somebody, get rid of the Clostridium, therefore not having the LPS, so not having the toxin that the bacteria forms, and they will not have that anymore. Or you can leave that strand there in their gut. and just take care of the symptoms that LPS produce.
So then you need more medication to.
So you never get off the medication. That's great. They know enough to, and they have
their own value ladder.
they have their life.
Named evil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not congenital, is it?
Well, yes. So there's several different ways that you can obtain a dysbiosis. So that's where you don't have your gut flora is off. But yes, a mother's gut flora a child tends to mimic closer to a mother. Changes a lot of different things, biotics, if they were C-section, if they're breastfed or not. There's a lot of things that can change it. But yes, there is a correlation there.
We had a hand in the back.
This, as you pass that, it's interesting. When Marley was going through a cancer bout there, we got really into testing blood and doing all the blood tests that are outside of the insurance-backed things, right? Had massive, huge panels. And so I went and it was crazy. I was going through a lot of anxiety stuff. And they're like, do you realize you have a ton of metal in your head? And it's linked to anxiety. I was like, I didn't realize how much that affects it. So it's not surprising to hear. Wow. Scott.
Scientist and doctor. So there's something really important about the gut brain. It makes the chemical that helps you stop thinking. It's the light switch that lets you stop thinking. It's the serotonin chemical, right? So if someone doesn't have serotonin, how they're thinking, they're anxious, it can't stop. Turns out, the artificial sweeteners kill half the gut flora that make serotonin for you in the gut brain and in the central brain. So in other words, the aspartames, the sucralose, all that stuff drops your gut flora. So you get the overgrowth of the bad stuff. It's fun, basically, right? So then, you get rid of the good stuff and pow, what's that? What do I do when I'm anxious? Oh man, I'll eat more artificial stuff.
Drink that hoppy cup.
Exact.
Yeah.
So in other words, you want to do your probiotics either naturally or for capsules, and avoid those artificial sweeteners if you like to avoid the anxiety, addiction stuff. And then the other stuff that does it is the high sugar that makes the candida that causes the alcohol that gets people stuck in the white flour with sugar cravings as well. So there's a lot of stuff that we're eating that really takes the brain off track, takes it off.
And they design it so you get addicted to it.
They were doing all the studies with different kinds of foods and things like that, but there's a point in your brain, they get the right sugar to salt ratio that your brain will be addicted to it. Because sugar is about 10 times more addictive than cookies.
Right.
And so basically they created this whole society. Well, and he was talking about artificial sugars. That's because the corn lobby is probably one of the strongest lobbies that's in existence. So I have a law degree, and if you really go down that path, pharmaceuticals too, they'll hold stranglehold on how we're affecting our food. And so we're creating a whole entire generation that is anxious and, doesn't understand things and YOLO and
YOLO.
I don't know, scares me. Yeah.
YOLO, but shorter.
So, YOLO.
We actually, there's someone that we're interviewing soon. It's actually, I think I'm so excited for this guest. It is the beloved actor Robin Williams. His son and daughter-in-law created a supplement that is very natural and helps with naturally producing the neurotransmitters like GABA and, I don't know the actual names, but to help overcome anxiety and things that is coming from our food sources. So this is really cool that's going to lead into this.
And I wanted to ask also, okay, we're rare, right? I mean, we just are. And I think it's important to own it. And it's not a comparative statement. It's not a pedestal thing either. But what are some of the unique things? I've just noticed, if I use the food pyramid, especially the new one, as any kind of guide, right? It's terrible. The first place that's really opened my eyes was, I don't know, 10 years ago or something like that. I had a buddy who, he's a big financial guy and did Mark Ford's finance and stuff like that. Huge, massive companies, right? A lot of billionaires and things that he did stuff for. And he told me, he's like, Steve, do you realize that the marketed financial tools are just literally meant for someone who is not on the route you're on? So don't even think you can go down those routes, right? You are literally outliers from what is being marketed. So don't go use those financial tools. But obviously the same things with health, right? And so if we're rare, what are some of the things you guys do to keep healthy from a rare perspective? Because I do think that we are all Clydesdales, show horses, $1 million race horses, and we need to do things differently than what is publicly taught. You know what I'm saying? Like, and we probably have these weird things that we do. Like,
We have a big list.
we have a huge list, and we'd love to hear your guys.
All the biohacking, all the granola, crunchy, crazy
granola,
things.
yeah.
Yeah, we love
Right
it.
here.
We bought my grandparents' property and we decided that we were going to start taking food into our own hands because living in Europe is a totally different story than living in the US. They have actual food. We do not. Agree. So my husband, within a month of us moving here, he started planting fruit trees. So we had an orchard. We source all of our food within like a 50-mile radius because if you eat the food that grows where you actually live, it's like be more bioavailable and more perfect for your system because you're in that same environment. So we have also same thing, like we buy, 4 cows at a time, them in the freezer. So we took it upon ourselves to take care of the food for ourselves and all of our extended family in the area. Because the thing is if you do go to the grocery store, like you said, it's going to be very difficult. And so I would say we do a ton, like my kids have taken fermented cod oil since the womb. But if I can break it down into one thing, we used to think that being healthy was when you read the ingredients, like, oh, let's read the ingredients. Now, don't read the ingredients. Only use ingredients. If that thing is already put together in a package, you're sunk. You should not eat that. It's not designed for us to consume.
I wonder how much has to do with the actual food and how much it has to do with the lack of nutrients in the soil. Because I think if you have a good foundation, then you can grow strong and healthy, right? With anything, whether it's your mindset, your body, whatever. But if you don't have the nutrients to begin with, then you're kind of just fucked.
Yeah.
I mean, I was in the army too. It's like you get an MRE.
I was going to say, MREs have nothing in them.
There's so much fuel, though. It's calories for days.
Yeah.
Some have M&Ms.
Yeah.
True.
The ones with the MREs divisible by 5. We always fought for them.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, MRE 15? Trade you. I got 14. It's better. You always got candy in it. Some of the things that Marley and I have actually had a challenge with this show is like, how do we go out and say this is what it means to be rare? Because that's different for everybody, right? Like, what does it mean to be rare? But what are you guys doing? What habits or weird rituals or maybe you have with health or with food that is definitely outside the norm that keeps you sustained in your pursuit?
So because of all the health problems, we're talking about autism and everything else. I have a son that has type 2 diabetes. Nobody in my family previous had diabetes. I have a daughter that has GERD, that awful gastroesophageal. It's like the bad acid reflux that she's stuck with for life. Nobody can figure out anything. So she has a bodybuilder diet, essentially, and no seasoning and no fried, no this, no that. And obviously, we all know it goes back to our food and what we're eating, what we've done. So years ago, I think a lot of us probably saw the Blue Zone show about more people, the critical mass of people living to 100 years old in certain pockets of the world. And it was called Blue Zones. And it was on years ago. And the sad reality is, they were showing Sardinia and Okinawa, and the only U.S. city in that show with this critical mass of people that have lived to 100 years old, and of course studying why, and it's interesting facts as to why, is you were talking about the microwave speed of food and things. Well, all of those cities had certainly one thing in common, and they all slowed down. And at least 2 of the cities, one in island Greece I never heard of, and then Sardinia, they were making their own sourdough, the classic 3 or 4 ingredient sourdough. Interestingly, my daughter was the one that brought to my attention, because she has to have the bodybuilder diet. That bread you're eating has like 82 ingredients, even though it's wheat and this and bullshit. And I was like, damn, you're right. And I'm a baker. I've owned restaurants. I'm like, this is stupid. So I stopped eating those breads years ago, or white flour, or all those different things. And I lost 15 pounds. I didn't think I needed to lose that much, but I did.
Surprise.
And I was like, surprise. So the point is, when you study all those cities, it's the slow nature of fashion cooking. Lo and behold, what is America told? What does everybody in this room already know? We're not supposed to have pasta because it's a carb. Well, little did you know, the little old ladies that are 90 and 100 plus are making pasta.
That's what they live on.
In Sardinia.
And vino.
And they're having the right portion. They're drinking alcohol. Their health is great. Nobody has high blood pressure. Nobody has high cholesterol. So the keys were making the right quality food, raw ingredients, and of course the caveman cooking style, the fresh vegetables and all this stuff, soil-rich foods and all this. But the sense of community. So if a 90-year-old man passes away, because we all know men die first, the man dies, what happens to the woman? The whole community. The woman doesn't sit by herself like in America on her couch until she dies in a couple of years of loneliness and heartache. She's swept up in the community and taken in, as that friend. So the community aspects, the cooking, and of course, they're all walking. They're all walking everywhere. They're all walking everywhere.
Interesting you said too that they've slowed down, and didn't you just say we're afraid to be stagnant and we have this hustle, go, go, go? We have been raised by, I think, an ideology that came from the industrial age, that the more you work, literally the more productive and valuable you are. But our physiology hasn't caught up to the fact that we don't necessarily have to be like that anymore. Like you were saying, we don't have to hunt for our food anymore. It's in the fridge.
And we can't slow down.
And when it comes to nutrition, I saw a post today by Dr. Mark Hyman, who I follow, and I love his stuff. I think he's brilliant. He works at, and he was saying,
we should move the conversation about how you eat. And I know for me, my experience with the military shifted how I ate. And I have to be so conscious of, I have more than 5 minutes. I have more than 30 seconds to eat my entire meal right now. And you don't have to eat over then. Right. Well, and it's been in the last few months since Parker's been eating food, watching, a combination of watching her grow, because she's 18 months old now. And she'll eat a few bites and then she goes to play, and then she, eats a few, just a little bit at a time, but she doesn't force herself to eat the entire bowl of whatever it is that we prepared for her. She'll eat what she wants and then she's like, no, I'm done. I'll die. And goes away. So I get curious about how much the consciousness with how we eat affects our overall gut health too, because if we're eating in a way where we're stressed and it's I gotta get my food in, what is that actually telling my gut as a signal from that connection in the mind, body, and the brain gut connection that we also kind of got through this conversation?
It's huge.
We had
follow up on that.
Yeah, we had Tyler. Tyler had his hand up, and then let's go here and then here. Can you throw it back to Tyler?
Mine would be fasting. Because
Fasting,
before it blew up 6 years, I was researching this stuff 6 years ago, being there's got to be some other way. Then I found Dr. Fung at the time. I remember he released a book, and I was like, what is this stuff? And then I went down these rabbit holes. And then I was like, I'm just going to try this and see what it does for my health. And then I started doing 24-hour fast. That was hideous. Then it was a 72-hour fast. Then I did a 14-day fast, but it was the worst thing ever because when you read on it, they're like, you're going to die. Literally every article, everything you ever saw says you're going to die. Do not do this. You can't go a long time. You go more than 3 days without water and food, you're going to die. So I was like, cool, I'm going to dry fast for 3 days. I did that too. And everything that I had in common with all these things that I was trying was I felt euphoric, amazing, and I was never sick. And I was like, what the heck is happening here? Everybody's saying that this one thing, and then I'm doing all this stuff, and I'm like, no, this is amazing. So now ever since, I've always done, no matter what, like a 16-hour fast. But Steve, you'll know this, even recently, I started binging on food again. And the craziest thing is that even though I've been fasting like for 5 years, all these crazy fasts, like I'm a beginner again. The food got me all addicted again. I couldn't even get past 16 hours. My body started fighting against me. It was just recently, like the last month, I'm finally back in tune with it. And now I'm doing 23 hours every day.
Nice.
And I feel great again. Now I'm just like zooming. I'm like, what is this fasting thing? Because when you bring it up, it's like, that is bad for you. This is horrible. But that's one of my religious things I really love to stick to. Because like, no matter what this research is telling me, I'm like, this is what I've done over and over and over again. And this is what I respond really well to. And it's when I'm least sick.